I'm live, right? I think we are live. If anyone can hear me, we are live. So let me just check. So Mark, obviously, I'm here with you today, and the whole point behind this is to learn about your journey of scaling your Amazon business. Now, obviously, we've spoken a lot previously, but if anyone doesn't know, and obviously if anyone's watching right now, you've gone to 0 to 60K in the last 6 months, which is absolutely incredible. And obviously you had a full-time job as well, and I'm sure it's not like an easy job, which we'll find out in a minute. But I'm just gonna check that we are actually live. So give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to load it up on my phone and make sure we're actually here. So yeah, I can see ourselves. We are live right there. So obviously, if people are watching right now, drop comments down below. Just give us a big hi. Or if you're watching the replay, really, really good. The whole structure of today, what I really want to do is, first of all, I just want to spend some time talking to you, Mark, learning about how you've scaled your business. And then obviously, if anyone else is watching, I'm going to be getting those questions and I'm going to be asking those. We've got some questions already that people have asked beforehand, which is great. And if you don't know, this is all part of our Fast Track FBA 90-day 30K VA challenge. And the whole point is we want to be helping people to scale, to grow their businesses over the next 90 days. And we've got a free guide that you can access right now. You can literally comment 30K VA, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can obviously download it down below, which is going to really help you out and just make life so much easier. And you can get that guide. It's like 28 pages, pretty massive, explains everything, and also about how to hire a VA, how to onboard them, how to train them, everything step by step that you need to know. But really, as part of these interviews that we're going to be doing over the course of January, is to support you guys in just learning from people who've really been there, done it. And the one thing I'll probably say to Mark, and I'll be honest with him, because one of the questions he was asking me was like, how do you want me to be on the interview? And I was like, just be yourself. But also as well, I just want you to tell the journey as it was. Like, scaling isn't easy; it is hard work. So I think we want to hear about the good, the bad, and the ugly about what you've experienced on your journey as well. So Mark, first of all, thank you so much for joining me. If anyone doesn't know, where are you based? Like where are you based right now, or like where are you from, should we say?
Well, originally from Hong Kong, and then based out in London right now, just where my work is. Yeah.
And obviously, question for you: do you want to just give us, a little bit of background about yourself and like where you've come from and like your journey before starting on Amazon? I'd love to hear about that, and like obviously why you got started on Amazon. What was that history behind that? And why you chose this business model out of all of the ones you could be doing?
Yeah, sure. So, so I've always kind of traditionally followed down the traditional route, right? I've always been just good at getting good grades, getting a good job. So, I'm, as I said, my professional job is, I'm in both like technology and accounting mixed together. But then like I've always wanted to dip my toes into the entrepreneurial space. I've always kind of in some ways seen myself as an entrepreneur. Or like a business person at least. So, I felt like Amazon was a great way to enter into that space. And then how I got started was, so it was actually my brother's best friend who, did online arbitrage out in the US, and that, he was doing really well, and having that blueprint kind of gave us of someone who we know who's done it, gave us the action to take forward from there.
Cool. And so I can hear a bit of myself in the background. Tell me a bit about like that. Like, why did you choose this? Like, so you talked about this business model. What was it that you liked about reselling on Amazon?
So yeah, I mean I find like the OA model kind of really had loads of characteristics of what you would think a business has. Right? It's like operations, finances, tax, managing cash flows, trying to get finances, and also building the revenue streams and managing people. So I really like that, like the OA, or say like even Amazon, kind of allowed you to venture into the business space, and see how a business operates. rather than being fixated on like a single role that you do on a 9 to 5 job. But then YOA is kind of just a gateway into Amazon. It's always kind of seen as like the entry level side of Amazon, where you can kind of dip your toes and see whether it works. But it's something that kind of aligns with what I'm good at. Well, like one of my strengths, which is like operations and stuff. So it's like suited to what I like.
Okay, fantastic. And you're just remember, like, obviously you've got a job. Like, what is? Can I ask what your job is? And obviously, like, are you happy to share that? And like, how demanding it is, and how do you balance that with your Amazon business?
I mean, yes, I do work for kind of like a like kind of a top tier firm. So it's definitely demanding, to say the least. Like there's a lot of like deadlines, lots of projects that I need to undertake at each point of time. But then it's still manageable, I think. So I mean, I do this business with my brother, and he's based in Hong Kong, and he's got much stricter time schedules than I do. So I think like it's busy, but compared to like it's still manageable to work around my time schedule. But sorry, what is it? It's basically I automate things within the kind of tax and accounting space. So just trying to streamline processes, which is kind of what made me like working with you, because you're very focused on like systems and processes. That's what I do.
Okay, no, I absolutely love it. And so just talk me through. So can I ask you? So just talk me through the journey of Amazon. Like, take me from the beginning to right up to date. Talk us through that journey. Give us lots of detail. Tell us all about it, like the challenges that you faced, and I'll kind of jump back in and ask questions throughout.
Yeah. So I think like to kind of tell it as it is. It's not like 6 months is kind of like a new marketplace, but then we started in selling in the UK prior to that, so about a year into the UK market, and kind of was trying to learn the ropes, trying to figure things out, and we kind of followed what the trap that most people would undertake. So it's like trying to do things ourselves rather than working with other people, or thinking the solution to getting more profits is to hire more people to source for you, and like just delegating rather than working in yourself. So yeah, I think that 1 year kind of ended us. We did the books thinking maybe we made some money, but turned out we just completely broke even. And then so then we started selling in the US, and kind of joined your mentorship program at that point, I think. So you who kind of shifted my strategy to the right direction, and then also made me realize as well, it's a very serious business. It's not something, this is money that we're playing with. So kind of focus more on things that actually how a business should operate. So the 6 months kind of selling in the US, that's been more concentrated and more successful, I'd say.
Talk me through. Also, you said you sold in the UK before, and then you did the US. Like, why did you start in the UK, and then why did you make the change?
I think so. I mean, it's just like the convenience, I suppose. The fact that I am living in the UK, and so being able to see your items physically gave some comfort, and also it's a good kind of training ground. because you're bound to make mistakes, I think, when you start, and not knowing really what to do. And why we moved to the US is because it's just a bigger marketplace. I think someone that said that the US is alone is bigger than the size of Europe in entirety. So just for the opportunities that there are in the US.
I mean, if someone's starting now and they want to think about, they're thinking about getting started, in your advice, let's say, for example, they are a UK, should they start in the UK or should they start in the US? And if not in the UK, then what would be the factors that say, actually, I should start in the US right now from the beginning? And again, it's only your opinion. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, I think how it worked out for the way it's very hard to say in hindsight, right? But I do definitely think if I kind of started from scratch, I think it probably would have been wise to start in the UK, because you do have again, you're bound to make mistakes, and so it's a great training ground. And like selling in the US, there's just going to be a lot more risks associated to it, a lot more costs. And there are other factors that you need to think about in the US with like taxes and stuff. So I do think, unless you're very certain that this is the model you want to do, this is the business that you want to pursue, then you can go to the US. But I think if you're really just like a beginner starting from scratch, I think UK is a great training ground. And also,
I think it's an interesting one. Yeah, I think if people are listening, everyone's like, I want to kind of do the end game straight away, which is like, I want to do the best thing straight away. And like, people watching this might be like, oh, I want to be doing wholesale brand direct, for example. And it's like, to get that is a lot of work. And what you really want to do is just find out of all the business models, is this the right one? OA is great for doing that. And then, you can start in one country and then shut it down and move to the other one once you've said, this is right for me. You mentioned, you mentioned in the US, there's a lot of risk, costs, and other factors. Can you share what you've learned about that?
Yeah, it's just like there are definitely issues with cancellations when we touched into the market. Just pretty much 60% of the items that we ordered in the first month were cancelled, and so we had to go through that process of figuring out which retailers do not cancel, and then focusing on the ones that do, and then obviously the ones that do as well, we had to figure which ones are not saturated. But there are like hundreds of stores in the US, and so like we kind of had to go through trials and tribulations to figure out what works, what doesn't work, to get to like an end goal position we're at right now. And then also stuff like gating as well. I think when you're a new seller, like you're just going to experience a lot of gating issues, but it's just like you just have to get your head down and ungate and start selling, start making your first thousands before getting, and then you can, your restriction to sell other brands would get lesser over time.
And what would you, I see you've grown in the UK, you've grown in the US, like starting capital for like both, what would you advise, or what are your thoughts now that you've kind of done both of them? If you say, like, if someone's thinking like, oh, maybe I should not do the UK, I should do the US, like capital is always a big consideration, especially as a capital business. Like, what should they think about there?
Yeah, I think, for sure in the US, you definitely need a lot more capital. And I think I learned from you, it's like 25,000. I do think that's probably about right. Probably more if you want to like really build a team and and have like a proper operation. But yeah, so I think 25,000 sounds about right. In the UK, it's like, I guess, 1,000, 2,000. Obviously, that's like, I personally think that's too little. You definitely need more to scale, but 1,000, 2,000 is in like to get a training ground to see whether it works before you. And then once you have like a blueprint that this stuff works, then you can add more exhaust to add more gas to the fire. Yeah, more cash.
How much would you say for the UK? Because you mentioned, obviously, some people say 1,000, and admittedly, you can start with as little as you like, but you're not really going to make much profit. But how much, if you're saying 25,000 for the US as a minimum, what would you say the minimum for the UK is?
Quite honestly, I'd say about like 10,000. I think 10,000 is. I mean, to start with, as I said, like 2 to 5,000. But like you need about, if you want to have a business here, probably definitely more. And then if
why the extra cost? Why 10 to 25?
Just like the administrative burdens, right? Because you need to. There are just more costs associated, operating costs associated to the US, like administrative stuff, like insurance. Everything in the US kind of just costs more. And then, so if you want to if you want to kind of get above that break-even point, you just need more, more revenues, right? More income. And the way you can get more income is through inventory, and so cash is needed to buy the inventory. So,
say that a bit again. Your microphone just cut out. Say that again.
Oh, it's just like you need more cash to buy inventory, and then the inventory translates to revenue, which then translates to income. And so, because the operating cost is more than in the UK, then you just need to sell more to break even. If you know what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, fine. I think there's a little bit of a problem with your microphone right now. If people are just talking, like maybe there's an echo or something going on, like the noise cancellation's cutting out. So, like I think if people are just listening, it's like saying you need more money to make more money to pay for the costs. And I appreciate, like, if we talk about numbers, and I know in my own business we work on a 15% gross margin, so that means to make like $1,500 worth of, should say, profit, and this is gross profit, not take home, by the way. You still got other costs to factor in. I need to sell $10,000 worth of, or make $10,000 worth of revenue, which is basically selling $5,000 worth of stock. So, for every kind of $1.50, I've got to spend an additional $5 and get that sold every single month. That's just to cover the costs, and that all adds up. And especially when you're talking like, and I know our accountancy fees in the UK were probably, if I put it in US dollars, maybe $300 a month, whereas in the US we're talking $1,000 a month. So, it's just like, whoa, I now have to sell more just to cover the same costs in a different country, because their cost base is a lot higher. That's something to consider. You mentioned ungating. This is a big topic. You've done 0 to 60K. How do you deal with ungating? That's like a challenge.
Yeah, it was very hard. I think as time goes, I think we actually came in at the time where gating issues got even more and more stringent. So the timing, probably, like if we came into the US 3 months before, we probably could have had more brands to sell. But the how did I get around that issue? I think you just gotta utilize what you have, right? It's like you can either the alternative is you stop. So if you choose the alternative to go forward, like just ungate to everything. And I know one person, because he ungated initially everything, and that was like one of his main tasks. Now he can sell on a lot of the profitable products that a lot of people can't sell. So it's just getting your head down and just doing it, I guess. Yeah. I also to say, I had an admin VA that came from the UK to the US. So she also helped to kind of help us ungate on a lot of products, freeing us a lot of time.
Okay. So you recommend people to try and ungate as much as possible from day one, or what? Just get selling? What's your thoughts on that?
I think just get selling, but have like I'd say like 2 or 3 brands on the pipeline to ungate. Well, I'd say like 5 to 10 brands to ungate in your pipeline if you're just starting, and get ready for So and then I wouldn't go more than that because it gets too hard to manage if it's more than 10.
Yeah.
But
okay. Now I understand. Any top tips for ungating?
There was like, I think like I just kept, when they rejected me, I just kept going, applying, kept sending it in. Sometimes like, I don't know, I feel like this time theory of sending on the Thursday actually worked for me. I think the theory of like, I think on the Thursday, I can't remember what the theory was, but on the Thursday evening of the US, we started ungating and it actually got through on some, but it could be just like rolling the dice. But also just having the right documents, right? The 10 units, the full name. I also do like a front page as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think I don't know if it's my side of the sound, but it's just like having the right documents and everything that you need, which is super important. Just drop me a comment if you can hear Mark. Okay, if it's my side, then that's fine. If you can hear Mark, absolutely fine. Then obviously like there's something going on my side that I just hear it kind of cancelling out every now and then. So just drop me a comment and let me know. You mentioned, Mark, I'll just kind of move on. You mentioned you talked about earlier on like having the right strategy. Like that's an important thing. Okay, so Alona is saying she can hear. Okay, so guessing it's Tom. Tom's got the problem. So sorry, that's my mistake, everyone. So you talked about having the right strategy. Thank you, Alona, for that, by the way. Tell me about like what do you mean by strategy? What does that mean? And like, what would you say is the right strategy to find that? Like, what worked for you?
Yeah, I think the way I like to put it, and the way again, I stole a lot of wisdom from you. So I think you made that analogy of having as like there are 3 roles in the business, right? There's the workers that cut the trees, and then there's the managers to sharpen, and then the leaders find the direction of where the most trees to cut. And then, so as you said, like you just always, I kind of, one of the things I learned from doing this is like you just always got to find, where you got to place yourself in the right environment to be able to, make more money. And then, so I think like when it comes to strategy, one of the things I learned is like to focus on what is your competitive edge. So what is like something that you're able to do that no one else can do, that you can kind of that is lucrative. And so like if you're a tech person, for example, your competitive edge could be just to build your own scraper, for example, and that could be your strategy, provided it actually works. So I think it's like, I think one of the things I learned from you was like focus, look at like a resource base. So look at what your edge is and then go forward from there.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point. Like one of the things that I always kind of think about in my business, and again, like, I've scaled to 4 million in the UK in a single year. And we closed that business down because the edge which I thought we had was just hiring more VAs. And I think you mentioned about that, and like we can talk about that in a minute. But it wasn't the answer, because everyone just came and undercut me. My business went down, and we realized that wasn't it. And so as we built in the US and we had it at the same time, the question was very much about like, how are we going to beat our competition? And it's tough when your competition can literally watch your storefront and see what you're doing, which is part of one of the main sourcing strategies within Amazon. But also, so you need to be able to your strategy has to be able to cater for that or beat it, should we say?
Yeah.
What advice do you have for people about strategy or building that competitive edge?
Again, it's just I think it's just looking at what skill sets, what environment you're under that you can kind of benefit out of. So again, if you, for example, one I heard was if you live near an outlet, it's quite obvious that you can find items on sales on those outlets, right? And again, as I said, if you're a tech person, then build scrapers. So it's thinking what can I do that other people possibly can't? And so when they look at when I first started storefront stalking in the US, I kept seeing Bed Bath and Beyond, and I was or Yankee Candle, and I was where are these guys getting it? It's 3 times the value on retail on online. And then now I found out it's every year there is something that happens. But I can never have that, but some people can, and they're playing towards their advantage. So that's kind of that's how you build a strategy, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and there's a lot of people who do the sneaker reselling game in the US. They do that, and then they understand where to get discount codes or even staff discounts. For example, we've seen that you can do student code discounts, so you're able to get a price that other people can't get. Or when you even talk about Yankee Candles, obviously I'm not specifically sure about what the kind of strategy is there, but I'm assuming you're alluding to the fact that certain times a year, certain discounts come available that people know how to access, and so therefore they can get prices that no one else can, and they can just hold and buy the stock and sell it on. But exactly. It's kind of time in the game, isn't it? How long you've learned these little nuances and the way things work.
Yeah, that's a big element. But also, it's just also even leveraging your relationships. You could have you could possibly have worked in Nike back in the when you could have worked in Nike management back in the days, and so you just know where to find Nike that no one else can, or you might know someone who does, so you can just pop in, call and say hey, where can I find this? So it's loads of competitive edge that you can kind of find.
Correct. I think it's super important to understand that the key to making money is figuring out what that edge is, and then really trying to maximize it, but also understanding that edge is not going to last forever. It will have an expiration date. And I think the analogy that I always, you talked about it, is workers chop down trees, managers sharpen the axe, and leaders say which forest. And when we talk about edge, it's what's the forest that we're searching for our competitive edging? Because there's lots of opportunity out there, but which ones do we focus on?
Exactly.
But what we've got to understand is that other people will come chopping our forest eventually. No forest is walled off forever, unfortunately.
Yeah, sometimes the brands even come to our forest, and it's just
correct. Or as we've seen, sometimes even if the brands don't come in, Amazon come in and take the brand off you, even if you're selling directly from the brand. There's loads of little weird things, and we've got to be, I think, as sellers, we've got to be careful and be nuanced to that. So let's kind of get back. As part of, if people are just joining right now, as part of the reason why we're doing these live calls is part of as Fast Track FBA, we've released our 90-day 30K VA scaling challenge, and you can get the guide for free right now. There's a link in the description, so you can click on that. It's completely free. It's about 36 pages of everything we've learned about scaling, and particularly we're talking about how to scale with virtual assistants. And the idea is in that guide, it will show you not only why this is the route that everyone does, but also as well how to actually do it. So we're talking about where to go step by step, like how to write a job description, where you need to advertise. We've even got a pre-written test in there. It's got the pre-written job description. It's got all the interview techniques. It's got all these, it's got like how to do a contract, and then how to onboard your VA, and how to train them, and what targets you should be setting them to get that 90K or 30K over the next 90 days. And that's the whole point behind it. So if you do want this right now, you can just click in the link in the description, download it, and obviously get that. And obviously for you, if you do decide to hire a VA and go down that route, or go down and do it yourself, you absolutely can. Or if you want to shortcut the whole journey, you can just check out Fast Track FBA. And obviously we've done this for many, many people. Now, moving on to VAs, obviously, Mark, you mentioned earlier on, the answer isn't hiring thousands of people or lots of VAs and just blasting them. What does that mean? Tell me more about it, and why did you say that?
Yeah, so as I said, like when our initial strategy, as you said, was just hire more VAs, and but then and revenues were increasing, but we weren't looking at how like the increased operating costs would affect our bottom line, and also how like didn't have the systems in place to cater for the larger volumes of items purchased. So, and it's also like just having more staff to manage just takes away your time. And if you don't have the time to spend, then also the staff can kind of linger on to do whatever they want. So it's like it's harder to manage, and it's also more costly. So it's not the right strategy. The strategy is to focus on find good VAs who can work, who have the right attitude, and then you can spend adequate time to focus on that one or two person.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned like when you say a good VA, what does that mean? Define it. Or like, what's the difference between a good and a bad VA? Because my God, like right now, I can go into any Facebook group, probably Discord channel, anywhere, or Instagram. I probably get 10 messages a day going, "Hi sir, do you want leads? Do you want me to scale your business? I'm an experienced VA." Like, why can I? Like, they're all good.
Yeah, it's just not the case. I think to kind of preface this, I think we've hired and fired. Let's say like we've hired and let go like probably over 10 VAs, but then we now have two or three who just are really, really good, and ones that have the right attitudes. And how you can kind of decipher them is just like do they show curiosity? Do they kind of show like willingness to learn rather than passively wait for you to teach them? Do they when you teach them something, do they actually practice what you've asked them to action on? And also it's like do they kind of sneak around? Like, do you see signs of unethical behavior? And the last one is like just competence, right? It's like, do they get what you're saying? Do they have the right language? So I guess it's like attitude, competence, and ethics, which happy to say my VAs, I love them. So yeah, they have that.
And like, give me. Obviously, you've hired lots of VAs. Like, where have you hired from? What worked? What didn't? And how did you spot these problems? Like, I've heard so many people right now who've they've seen 7 and 8 figure sellers use virtual assistants to scale their business. Like, it is a way you struggle for labor, you struggle for time to find deals. And I think I'll just hire this person. I've spoken to people who have like, my VA is giving me deals, but they are, they're not listening to what I'm saying, they're not doing it, but like I need those deals coming in. It's like an addiction, should we say?
Yeah.
But like you must have some and again, give us specifics around the horror stories you've seen. So tell me where you've hired them and what are the horror stories that you've seen, and what have you learned from that experience?
Yeah, so I think most obviously, so most of our hires was from online.ph, just the Filipino job board, and also pretty much all of them we've let go are from there as well, except for so we hired one from your VA Academy as well, so who's just awesome, does really good job, and some of the horror stories that we've had, it's a lot of just funny reasons for why they're not able to come to work. I'm trying to remember. There was just one really funny one, but I can't remember what the story was. But one of the horror stories, it's just products prices tanking. I think the obvious ones, but I'm trying to remember the really funny one. If I remember it, I'll mention. But it's just a lot of excuses.
Yeah. And you mentioned obviously you did a question for you. You did it yourself. And by the way, I'll be honest here. As part of the guide that we're sharing there, it talks about where to hire from, and we give you a template to use. And one of the places you can advertise is onlinejobs.ph. It's a really well-known Filipino job site, and we have seen lots of clients hire from there themselves, which is great. But it hasn't worked out, or maybe they've done a lot of work to hire one VA and then really it hasn't worked out. You said, obviously, you've hired 10, you've let, I think it's 8 go, you've got 3 now, is that right? So you've let 7 go, should we say? Why did you go through so many? Let me ask that question. And how long did it take you to find the 3 that you've got right now?
Yeah, so I think the couple of first ones were just oh, we're excited to have one, and just they were just finding us random stuff, and then we kind of realized after a while, it's just not about finding a person, right? But you kind of learn after each one what are the more specific behaviors that I've mentioned previously that you look for. You kind of also mentioned that it's if they're not part of the A team, then they kind of don't deserve the place to be in your team. Can't remember what your question was specifically. Was it?
It's what have you learned on that journey from hiring 10 VAs, of which 7 you've let go, and that people can learn from?
Yeah. You also kind of realize that some of these decisions, although it's hard, it's not easy to let someone go, but then it's necessary at some point, if they're not obviously for a reason. What else have I learned? I've also just learned that because the good ones are like a diamond in the rough, that when they do come about, you need to treat them well, right? And I guess that's what I learned. It's find the good VAs and treat them well, and then also kind of learn to not take it to heart if you're letting someone go, because eventually it's a bit like having a relationship with someone, with your girlfriend. It's if you don't feel like it's right for you, you shouldn't just drag on for as long as possible, because eventually it's going to burst. I guess, yeah, that's my analogy.
Agreed. I love it. I think I'll kind of repeat back what you said, because I think if anyone's watching, I think it's really important.
Sure.
So you mentioned some good behavioral traits, which I think people should, like, if you're going to take notes, take note of this. Do they have curiosity? Do they have a willingness to learn? Or are they passive? Passive, like, not doing anything, not really being active in their learning process. You're not looking for passive people. You want people who are engaging, they're curious, they want to learn more, which is great. Also, sort of opposite passive, they're proactive. So, they're doing what you taught them. They're actually actively doing that. I think that's great. And then also as well, you mentioned one, like a negative thing. Do they, I think it's kind of like duck around or sweep around. I'm not too sure what the word, but kind of like, they're like sneak around. That's the word. So I can't read my writing. Do they sneak around, like doing that? What does sneaking around mean? Define that. What does that look like?
Like you can see patterns in their team logger, for example. It's like they're obviously using was it like a clicker, where it shows like their activity is full, or constantly saying I've got this. I'm ill. This person's ill. There's this weather typhoon that's come about. Yeah, just or like you've realized maybe you've bought a lead, and then there's like no one should be able to find this lead, and suddenly there's like 20 people in that lead. Then something sneaky's happened. Yeah, those kind of behaviors, I guess.
I'll kind of jump over the questions in a minute. So if anyone's watching, do drop the questions down below. But Alona mentioned, do you time track? Are you tracking them? You mentioned something called Team Logger. If people don't know what that is, what's that? And are you checking screenshots?
Yeah, it's a necessity, I think. Definitely it's a necessity to have Team Logger in your business. Whether I track them, it's like, I'd say probably I should track more than I should, than I do. But I think, at least you should be checking once a week, I think, to make sure. I mean, this is at least to make sure there's nothing. And if you see something, then obviously more often.
Yeah, definitely. I think you talked about it, which is, you said you're building the A team. Do they deserve to be part of it? And I think the kind of analogy I've used in the past is like, if they're not part of the A team, it's not saying that they're a bad person. We're not saying that. It's just that they're not right for this team. But also as well, by us keeping them in our team when they're not right for it, we're doing them a disservice because they haven't found their team that they are part of. And what we're like, the way I kind of think about the big question is everyone's good at something in their life, like really good at something that they just love. Like they'll do it naturally. It could be painting, it could be sourcing for profitable products on Amazon. And what you're looking for is those people who are just good at it and love it. And you want them in your team. What you don't want is the graphic designers who really want a graphic design job, but need to pay the bills, so they're going to take your job anyway, but they're not going to do it well. You want the people who are like, no, I love looking for products. I love finding deals. Like they're the kind of people. And when you find the people who aren't right in your business, just say, hey man, like it's not right. This isn't working out. No hard feelings. I wish you the best of luck, but we've got to go our own separate ways. That's it.
It's also like for like everyone else's interest, right? You want longevity in the company, and so you want, if you're an A team player, and this is like what you love doing, then this is an opportunity for you to make more money. And if you have a full team of like really good employees, then you can all make money together. There's like plenty of pie to eat.
Correct. Yeah, and what's interesting is the Amazon pie is always growing. Mm-hmm. So right now you've got 3 VAs, is that right? 2 sourcing, 1 admin. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Cool. You've done 60K in the last 6 months, is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Cool. Are you still working in your job? Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Cool. Obviously, top tier firm, definitely not a small job. So what's life like now, and what does the future hold for you?
life now, I think I'm just like really excited for what's like 2025 has to offer. And obviously just work hard in all aspects of my life. I really enjoy the Amazon game. I enjoy like the business aspects, but like what's to come is just I'm just constantly I'm looking to still like build on the team that I have, so then I can seek out for more opportunities for the team. That's yeah. That's
Cool. Fantastic. And when you say build on your team, what does that mean? Define it.
So just trying to have proper systems in place where it's like they know, because obviously there's just so much to do in Amazon if you want to like run a proper business. But some things are harder to delegate than others because of the nuances. And so it's just trying to iron out those nuances and having proper systems in place, which I think like you've provided a lot of systems that help me to implement in the business.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important. No, cool. Thank you. So what I will just say is obviously to people right now, if you do want to get the scaling guide, before I jump into the questions, I'll just say, comment the word 30K VA down below, or there'll be a link in the description. You can download that. This is a free guide you can get. It's basically talking about how to scale, like what Mark's done. And the whole point is it does teach you how to do it yourself. You can hire in onlinejobs.ph. But if you want to fast track the journey and get someone to do it for you with a 12-week unlimited replacement guarantee, then come speak to Fast Track FBA. That's what we're here for. This is what we do. We've done it for 1,000 VAs now, for over 500 clients, just like Mark. I'm really trying to support them, not only in getting a great rockstar VA who is going to be worth it, part of the A team, but also as well supporting you guys in how to manage your business to get you scaled up. That's something really, really important. I'll kind of just jump through. I think Alona asked, obviously, how many are you time tracking, checking screenshots? You mentioned yes to that. And you've got 3 VAs right now. Is that just, I think you just confirmed that. So that's right, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, correct.
But when you mentioned treating them well, what does that mean?
So it's like, I think it comes with finding out there's 2 ways. There's one is like monetary, obviously. It's like you pay them more, and you implement bonus schemes and structures, bonus structures. But then I also think like most importantly is like building an environment for them to prosper, right? Like one of our VAs, she's kind of like fresh out of university. So she just really wants to learn. And so it's like trying to foster an environment for her to learn as much as possible from the things that I've learned during my career. And also align it to what she sees, what they see as like their foreseeable future. So I think it's like monetary and also what they want in the role. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really important part. Like, get to know your staff, understand like what do they want. Sometimes people aren't interested in money. Like, you will actually see it when you hire the VAs. They'll get to a point where they earn enough money. They're like, I'm not really want anymore. So then you've got to kind of understand like what do they want. And for us, we always talk about like career aspirations and where do they want to go and grow. And this is about when you do the interviewing or like when you get to know your VAs, is like understand where they're going, like why this job out of all their jobs, something that's so helpful. And that's about building leadership and development on. You mentioned, or Alona mentioned here, I hate the lies. I'm guessing it's from VAs, obviously. Like you mentioned that the bad VAs are sneaky. Like, have you had any experience of that? VAs, like when they've been sneaky, like give us some, like what are the sneaky things that you've seen, or like any lies? Have they lied to you?
Yeah, that was actually one in particular. So when I switched models, when I started selling in the US, there was one VA who I kind of, this is what made me realize like I was played a fool, was she then started saying like, I've got like mental health issues. I've got this this disease, that disease, and I'm like, because obviously she was finding me a lot of leads, and as she was one of the top performers at the time, I really wanted her to come to the US. But then she started bringing all sorts of excuses until she realized like there was no excuse, and then she quit. But then that made me realize like she was definitely working for someone else, because now if you move to a new market, you can't share. So those, yeah, that kind of those kind of lies, I think you're seeing, you're relating to it.
Yeah, we've seen that, and I've like there's so many different ways we've caught VAs doing sharing or working multiple jobs. It's one of the reasons why we don't allow part-time VAs. We only allow full-time VAs, because we don't want multiple jobs. We don't want them sharing deals. That's a really key thing, because at the end of the day, that's your money that you're investing in these opportunities. And if someone else is investing in them as well, the prices tank, the competitors go up. You just don't know how many people are getting those deals. And the last thing you want is you spend all this money and you get no return on investment for it. That big risk is a really big shame. I appreciate time, Mark. If anyone wants to reach out to you, is there any way they can get in contact with you? I appreciate, obviously, you're in the school community as well. Is that the best way, or is there any other way that they can reach out to you?
Yeah, I guess like Facebook as well. But school community, definitely, I recommend anyone to join the school community. Like, there's a lot of cheat codes, as you say, from there. Wish I did it from the start. Yeah, that's school community or Facebook. Either way works.
Fantastic. Brilliant, cool. Well, what I will say is, obviously, if anyone is listening right now, obviously, I just want to say a big thank you to Mark, and obviously, if you do want to get that guide, you can download it right now. It's going to be available for the whole of January. We are running this, and the whole point is to help you guys. We're doing lives to support you, but also as well, if you do decide to shortcut the journey, come work with a company, Fast Track FBA, who's done this before, hired 1,000 VAs for over 500 clients, and with a 12-week unlimited replacement policy, you can get that. And you're also going to get weekly coaching from myself, those shortcuts we talked about, and many, many other things. So get that guide, and obviously think about using us, you can as well. But for myself and everyone watching, Mark, thank you so much for everything you've done and everything you shared.
No, thank you, Tom. Yeah, appreciate a lot of things that you've helped me with.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing. Right. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you.